Guys doing all right?
Good.
Good.
I guess I'll start, Coach.
Yeah.
I was here last year, and I interviewed Coach Summers, and, I asked him, I said, Coach, I said, since I've been here, we haven't had a real violent line. I love to see a violent, physical offensive line. I said, are you guys going to come out and hit him in the mouth? He kind of got taken back by me saying hit him in the mouth. Hey, Coach, are we going to come out and hit him in the mouth this year?
I think there's a certain type of demeanor that you got to play with up front as an offensive lineman. And, the thing I talk about with my guys, there's three pillars in our room, and that's speed off the ball, it's toughness, and it's finish. And I think you got to have that as an offensive lineman, because when you get through with that on the field, you're also going to be able to carry that with you in life. And I want guys that when the ball snaps, they're explosive off the ball. We're trying to play as fast, as physical. I use the line all the time. I want men of direct action. When that ball snaps, it's violent play. It's from point A to point B as fast and playing up front. It gets. You got to build to win that line of scrimmage, and so. That type of play, I think there has to be a lot just with the type of demeanor of the kids that you have in that room, and also trying to develop that. And so that's something we talk about a lot. We don't, obviously we harp on technique and fundamentals and everything like that, but there's a style of play that we got to learn first.
Do you feel like the offensive line has been consistent the last week of practice in terms of performance?
We're still working on the consistency. It's you have spring with these guys. You're introducing new things. You work with them throughout all of summer, and you can see a lot when we came back, having like really the first week of fall camp underneath our belts. You can see the improvements that they made from the spring till now. But you got to be consistent with it. And so that's something, just the more that we're with them, the more they're around, the more they're doing, they're going to get. But it's like I was talking about before, it's those playing fast, playing fast, finishing, getting around the ball. So that's one thing we talk about, not only in our group, but with the offense, is just we want to play with just a relentless effort by all of us. Everybody to the football, no matter what play is called. We're all in it. And just being very proud of the effort that we see on film when we watch it at night.
Do you feel like Pumas played fast?
Yes, I do. I really do. And with our quarterbacks, it's those guys. It's not only pre-snap reads and just reads within the passing game. With what we ask them to do in the run game as well, it's a lot. You're asking those guys to make quick decisions, to play fast. And definitely I've seen that from Puma.
Coach, since you stepped on campus, I've seen nothing but this hashtag of Band of Brothers, Band of Brothers. Is that something the O-line is taking a hold of, the mentality of like we're just a band of brothers, we're all together?
Absolutely. I could say this from the heart. I used to, and I didn't have kids, but now I got two kids. I got a 6-year-old and 3-year-old. And just being around and having that family now, like there will be nothing that would come between me and my family. Nothing. And if I can get these guys who are unrelated by blood to come together and play for each other as if they're brothers, because it's one thing, like you'll do a lot for a friend. You'll give them a shirt, you'll give them a ride, pay for them a meal maybe. Before a family member, you'll do anything for a family member. And that's the whole thing from day one when you get here, all the way throughout these guys' career. You want to make sure that it's a special time, man. Like, they'll never forget this time, and it goes by quick. But I want them to feel like it was a family that they played for, that they laid it on the line for a family member. And the more stuff that we can do with these kids outside of the facilities, you'll see that coming together more and more and more. And that thing will just keep growing and keep growing.
Now, after last year, the team was a bit down, especially the offensive line. What did you do when you first came in and like building morale there with that group of guys and the incoming players?
Well, my first meeting, I walked in there. It was dead quiet. Nobody wanted to talk. Nobody laughed or anything like that. And I was like, well, before we move forward, it's okay if anybody wants to talk in a meeting. You can laugh and just trying to get them to relax, be themselves. Football is it's a tough game. It demands a lot from us. mentally, physically. You got to have fun. You still got to enjoy the fun aspect of football. Going out there and playing with your other teammates, you know, putting it on the line with those guys and going out and everybody together accomplishing things. And so, but you got to have fun doing it.
How tough is it to get the fun when you're not getting the result, the positive results that you want from the game or individual plays or whatever?
I think that, you know, as coaches, when you have experience, I think you look back to times that you've had previously, you know, being at like a previous place that you'd been and had taken over and may have been very similar. And, you know, I guess, you know, now in the summertime, there's a lot of recruiting that goes on and stuff like that. And, you know, you're recruiting, you're with these kids, and that's a lot different. But, you know, I remember Coach Satt and I was just sitting back and talking and just being like, you know, it's, you know, we're pushing these kids, you're wanting to happen, you know, and you know, you hear what happened before and stuff like that. But in our mind, we know what it's going to look like, you know, once we get it going. And because we've been through situations like that before.
When you were here last year playing them, it may be one of the toughest weeks that these guys had. When Scott Satterfield called you, did you have any trepidation of, okay, maybe I don't want to do this, or think about, because of the situation here?
We talked after the game. You know, that's something I've been very fortunate, you know, being in the AC and being on this side of the ACC for the past 3 years at NC State and playing against Louisville. I mean, Louisville's been held pretty high in the way that people perceive Louisville football in this conference. And, you know, after we played them, there was a lot of people just talking, just like, you know, this is a very good job. You know, this place it's got a passionate fan base. They love their football here. There's some good football players, a lot of good football players on that field. Like, somebody's going to come in here and take this place by storm. And so we were like, whoever comes and takes this, they could be walking into something really special.
Coach, you've put in a new offensive blocking, new blocking schemes that are different, and have the linemen taken to it? Have they gotten it so that you can move on from just the different techniques and all that, or is that something still evolving?
That's something that, you know, we'll be working on that. I was telling the guys the other day, I was showing them some film of like Garrett Bradbury and some of the guys I coached at NC State, and I told them, I was like, man, the way I'm showing you his film of his senior year, you got to understand, I was with him for 3 years. That first year, it was nothing like that. You know, he kept getting better and better. And we try to be very simple, because I want us to be able to make sure that we can master something. You know, I don't want to like dibble and dabble in a lot of things. We're going to be very good at, and we're going to do it a lot, where that really becomes muscle memory for those guys. And also, in saying that, those guys have that confidence knowing that it doesn't matter what the defense is going to do or give us. We know how we're going to be able to get it blocked up. We know what we have to do for it. And so those guys, that confidence, you need to kind of have that as well with it. Sorry. Go ahead.
Tyler Haygraft is the guy who walked on a few years ago, got
Yeah.
scholarship before you guys got here. Just what have you seen from him now, kind of in that position at start right tackle?
I've been very impressed with Tyler. And the first thing I told my wife, the first time we've had the guys over this summer, I was kind of just, she was like, all right, let's run through everybody, you know, catch me up, because she hasn't been around them. And so, you know, when I got to Tyler and I was talking, I was like, Tyler's awesome. I was like, and the reason I say that, he's earned everything that he's gotten in life. You know, for somebody to come here and walk on and to earn a scholarship, to earn right now he's our starting right tackle, that says a lot about a person. Because it's easy to kind of just come into a program, especially when you're coming in as a walk-on, to kind of just, well, you know, they're going to recruit some better players. You know, I don't know if that's going to be my role or not, but Tyler's just his effort and everything he does, his attitude, The way he is in meetings, I mean, he's relentless. And relentless in everything that he does. And to me, that's what you want on a football team. I can't say enough positive things just about his attitude and the type of effort that he goes with everything.
You've been, obviously, you were with Sat at App State, then you went to NC State, you've been at a few other programs. Just comparing what Coach Sat was supposed to there, how unique is Bill's program?
Well, Coach Sat?
Yeah, how unique is that?
It's truly family oriented, and it's not something that, you know, I tell people a lot, like, you know, it's easy to put something on a t-shirt and proclaim that, you know, this is us, you know, we're family. But I think that you walk into our building, you walk into our hallways, I think you feel it. And Sat is as good as a man that you'll ever come across. And I think that, you know, everybody on his staff, they love working for him. We all feel like we're brothers. We all feel like we're related. And I think that feeds into our players as well. And it's truly a family. I know that sounds like, everybody, all coaches say family. But I think that the more you guys are around and you guys get around us, I think you'd really, truly feel it.
How many times did you have your unit over to your house, and what all did you cook? Saw some ambitious grilling going on.
Well, my wife is going to be really happy that football season started up, because a lot of, you know, I buy a lot of the meats from Costco and get a lot of pork butts and ribs, and they don't sell them in small quantities. And so we would have a lot of smoked meats there throughout. But I did burgers for them one day, and it was a lot. It's a lot of work. Now, when you're feeding that group of guys, I can't tell you how many we went through, but you're manning that grill now. It's a lot of work, but it's fun. I'll try to do a lot for those guys there at the house, you know. And I tell people all the time, it's not necessarily, it's not just what we do with these guys in the facilities while we're here. The more those guys feel like you care about them. I was very fortunate to play for a lot of coaches. And the more you as a player feel like your coach cares about you, I think the harder you'll play. All right. And I think that's important, man. That's got to be, that's your back, that's who you are. That's who you got to be. Those guys got to know that you care and that you love them. And I think the more you do for them and the more you have them over, the more that they're going to communicate and talk with each other just about life, just the simple things that you take for granted. But I think that's what makes it special, and I think that's how those guys come together. It's not what we do necessarily just in this facility we have, but it's all the stuff that we do outside of it.
What sort of things did you do, Coach, when you had the guys over to your house, besides eat?
Well, it's a lot of eating, and during the season, it's on Thursday nights, and you know, and it's a lot, and I get the guys to put their cell phones away, so it's like forced communication, and which they were, you know, they'll be apprehensive at first, and you know, it's during the season, so we'll cater in during the season, but my wife makes homemade cookies, and so there's a big gathering, and you can smell them when they're coming out of the oven, and but it's just, you know, we're talking about, there'll be something that comes up where somebody's talking about something they did in class that week. Maybe, and usually it's a debate of something. And so you'll hear something, it could be something that's happening in the world. And so it's a very unique conversation to be had with those offensive linemen on that couch. But I tell them all the time, you know, what happens on this couch is truly, in my mind, is what's going to help us win football games. And it's the communication that you guys start having with each other and feeling like you're part of each other's lives. And to me, once you get that, you can have something very special.
Dwayne, how important is the center for communication? And Scott said he wasn't happy today with maybe the production that you guys got out of that position. It's
huge, man. The center position for us in this system and for us, it's a fun, but it's a great position to be in because you really run everything. Now, it's a lot, and I think that position hasn't been asked to do as much as what we're asking it right now. So those guys are having to learn a lot right now, and I think that for the stuff that we ask them to do, it's quite a bit. And but they'll get it. You know, the more that we get out there with them, like today, I mean, you know, this was our first scrimmage ever since the spring game because we're just now getting back with it. And, you know, you can see improvements from back then. But that is a position that they got to play at a high level in this offense. And it's something that I think that we got the guys here to be able to do it. We just got to keep working at it.
In a lot of places, quarterbacks, former quarterbacks, are the offensive coordinators. You're an offensive lineman. How does that define you or make you different as a coordinator?
You know, I don't necessarily know that as far as like what would make it different. I think that, you know, obviously with an offensive line, being with the offensive line background as a coach, I think obviously, you know, your first thoughts are with the run game and how you're going to protect the quarterback. But I think that the longer you get in coaching and being around it, I think that you also understand that, you know, the decision making by the quarterback, what you're trying to throw and everything else, all that is going to matter in protecting the quarterback. And so, and I think that obviously with my background, I mean, obviously my background's being up front with the trenches, running the football, protecting the quarterback is what we're doing. And so, but we have a room of some great coaches, and I think the more you're around all those guys, I mean, we act like brothers when we're around each other. But it's a fun group. We are always going back and forth, throwing ideas around, and it's a fun group to be with. And I think the kids, they can sense that as well and feel that.